Yeah, a lot of fun.
Dun, 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 dun,
Dun
dun,
dun dun dun. Yeah, we need an intro. We need an intro song. I might have
I was
to.
going to tell you that.
We
We
might
do.
we might
We
have to hit
actually
up one
do.
of these guys to do a little intro for us. Yeah, we need an intro. We're gonna have to get an intro song designed for us, created for us. Get somebody to hook this up for us. But
So time out for a second. Now, where's everybody at? Shawn, you're in Vegas, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we got our Vegas correspondent. We got our Ben. You back in Cincy, right? You at
I,
home?
I am I am at home, back in Cincy.
All right. All right. Rocking you up in what's it, Philly?
I'm in Philly. Yeah, I'm
Philly.
in Philly.
All right, Philly in the building. All right. So we were up. All right. Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, we're
Let me know
good.
you.
We're ready. We're ready once you get done drinking your Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Hey, gotta have it, right? Yo, what's up, ladies and gents? We're on, right? We good? Got
We're
my
good.
good side, Shawn?
Got you.
All right, I'm just bugging.
Did you
Yo,
shave?
what's
I
up?
didn't shave for this. I'm still looking kind of rough.
I did. I'm actually kind of clean right now. Not shaped up, but kind of cleaner than you, Ben. But anyway, what's up out there, everybody? Fight Hype Live in the building. I'm your man Vito, joined by, of course, the usual suspects: Ben Thompson out in Cincy, a man Rockman up in Philly, Shawn coming to us live from Vegas, Fight Capital USA. A big week ahead, ladies and gents. All of you guys know we got Porter Garcia on deck. Fellas, we're gonna start it by going around the horn. I'm gonna tee this one up because off the air, you guys know I've said for a minute that with Danny Garcia, I've been a little disappointed in his path after the Matisse fight. So let's start around the horn, guys. I want to know, do you guys think that Danny Garcia needs to come out with a chip on his shoulder and something to prove this week? Who's gonna kick it off, boys?
I I think he should be really motivated to gain back the status he once had after beating Matisse, that he hasn't really had since the Herrera fight. There's been all this cloud around him that he's either fighting subpar opposition, or when he's fighting good opposition, he's getting close decisions like he did against Peterson. But I've never sensed from Danny that chip on the shoulder at this point in his career. You know, it's like Angel said, they want that house. That's what they want. And he's talking about the house they have out in the sticks in Pennsylvania. And Danny struck me as a very content fighter. It's why he brings up the Matisse fight. It's why he brings up the Khan fight. It's why he talks about 2013 and 2012 as if it's 2018. So I'm not feeling from Danny that he is any extra motivated for this fight. I think he's a little refreshed, which may be a little different. I do think he's refreshed after getting his first loss. I think he's hungry, but I think in terms of who has the edge, who wants it more, that's going to be Shawn Porter, and that's usually how Shawn is. It's tough to want it more than a guy like Shawn Porter, but Danny Garcia has better boxing skills than Shawn Porter, which is a big reason why this is going to be such a tough fight to pick, because Danny is the better boxer. He's the better counterpuncher. He has a better timing, and but Shawn just has more energy. But before we get into a fight breakdown, just to answer your question, I don't know if Danny is gonna be willing to walk through as much adversity as Shawn Porter is. Shawn showed. Just take a look at their Keith Thurman fights. After Danny tasted the power, he fought a lot more cautious than you would want him to. Even down the stretch, as he pushed on the gas a little bit, he never went balls to the wall. Contrast that with Shawn Porter, who got rocked a number of times with Keith Thurman, but never stopped coming balls to the wall. And I think that's an edge for Shawn in this fight.
I think that right there is why I do give Porter a bigger chance than many. But Rockman, let's go on to you. Ben, we'll let you pull up the rear, my man. Rockman, what do you think in terms of like this? Does Garcia need to come out with a chip on his shoulder? Should he come out with something to prove based on what we've seen out of him lately?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's win fight for him. I think, like Shawn said, he's more technically sound. I think that Porter has been embarrassing him for the past couple of years, calling him out on social media.
Rockman must be in a terrible location.
Hello?
We kind of look that. I think he's back. Rock, you back? We're losing.
Still a better breakdown than mine, even through all that.
Can you hear me?
We barely.
I can hear you. It's a little choppy though.
Okay, my bad. To get closer to the mic. How about now?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're just a little choppy. It's
Okay,
like
what I
your
was saying.
Wi-Fi connection's probably bad.
Well, what I was saying, if you can hear me, is that like I agree with Shawn. He's a better technically sound boxer. I do think he needs to come out with a chip on his shoulder. It's a must-win fight for him. I think it's his last chance at that top stone. So if he loses this, he becomes just like a person that
Oh,
fighters.
Rock, you're breaking up. You might have to take the mystery machine to a different location. Yeah, you're breaking up. It's cool though. We'll wait till you get to a better location. But I'll jump in real quick. I don't like. I mean, I don't think Danny Garcia has to do anything more than what Danny Garcia does. Just come out, fight a smart fight, and get the W. You know, Shawn Porter is going to press the pace. So I don't think Danny needs to come out trying to prove anything. All he has to do is just fight smart, wait for the openings, and take his shot. I definitely don't think he should try and go toe to toe with Shawn. I don't know. I just think that'll be a bad strategy. But yo, it might work out too at the same time. You know, having said that, you know, I'm sure Shawn and them probably aren't expecting, even though Danny's been saying I'm gonna go toe to toe. I'm sure Danny and them aren't really expecting him to do that. So we'll see what happens. I just don't know if. I mean, it just depends on what you mean, V, when you say he has to prove himself. Like,
Well, let me clarify, and that's an excellent point. Let me clarify that though. I mean, I think you're always something like that. I would pose that type of question always in the sense of that person's skills and attributes. You know, I think if Danny comes out there and tries to fight Shawn Porter's fight, he's absolutely going to get killed. I don't think that works for him at all, even though they're saying they're going to go toe to toe. But what I'm getting at is, does he need to make sure he's, and some people will say he's probably going to do this anyway, but just to take it a step further, do you feel he needs to come out and perform flawlessly? Because Shawn alluded to it earlier. We talk about it. I talk about it offline all the time. I think that he lost a lot of steam on the heels of the Matisse fight. He looked great at that point. I personally thought he was the guy. When you talk about welterweights now, you hear everyone but Garcia. What does he need to do at this stage to put him to basically inject himself back at the top of that argument?
I think he just needs to win. Shout out to Black Horseman Promotion. He said Danny by UD or late stoppage. Yo, late stoppage. Wow. Danny Garcia stopping Shawn Porter. I guess that's possible. But no, I mean, all Danny has to do
I don't see Danny doing it.
Yeah, no, I'd be surprised. But no, all Danny has to do is win. If he wins, because listen, it's gonna be hard you're fighting Shawn Porter, right? So Shawn Porter makes fights very, very tough, and it doesn't matter how good of a boxer you are, how slick you might be, the fight is gonna look somewhat sloppy just because it's Shawn Porter, and that's the pace he sets. That's the type of style he sets. He's coming in and he's going right at you. So I think what's important for Danny is just get the win. If he gets the win against Shawn Porter, whether it's sloppy, you know, whether it's a wide decision, whether it's a close decision, as long as he gets the win, and as long as it's a definitive win, not like a Canelo Golovkin type of situation, but a definitive win, then I think people, will be talking about him again. They'll definitely be talking about him in respects of Errol Spence and Keith Thurman and all that stuff.
Okay, so when you look at it that way, though, I mean, we're talking about Shawn Porter here. Shawn Porter is one of those guys, and I like Porter a lot, but he's one of those guys who will mess up a good style. Like he's gonna make the match ugly with his pressure, his awkward angles, and it works to his advantage. He has a method to his madness. So, I mean, looking at it realistically, is it even really a true expectation to put on Garcia to say that he has to look great? Because I think against a guy like Porter, you really can't. I mean, is it fair for Danny that we're even looking at it this way? Who want to take a hack at that one?
Yeah, I agree with Ben that all Danny has to do is win. And just to touch on something he said earlier, that Danny, all he has to really do is beat Danny Garcia to give himself the best chance of winning the fight. But I think that Shawn can do things to offset that and still win the fight, even if Danny does what he does well. Because Danny is really good with his feet planted. Okay, he can move back off the back foot a little bit, doesn't cut the ring off very well, but he's at his best when he's planted. And I think one thing that we underestimate about Shawn is, one, he has a really good jab. And one thing you can do to outwork a fighter who likes to be economical with his punches is outwork him. And I think that jab's going to be busy, and I think it's going to be in Danny's face a lot. But another thing is Shawn's feet. I don't think he gets enough credit for his ability to get to different spots in the ring when he wants to. And he could get in and out and side to side. I think that the footwork for Shawn could really help him offset Danny's counterpunching opportunities, and along with the jab, that when Danny wants to wind up on that front foot and get the left hook ready, he could eat a jab in his face and make him reset. But I don't think either fighter has to win by knockout. And also, I just think either guy who wins and wins without controversy is going to get a lot of credit, and his status is going to move up to where everyone wants to see that guy fight Errol Spence, being that they're both with Al Heyman. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's going to be an ugly fight, actually. Shawn Porter's fight with Keith Thurman, I mean, sure, he made it rough, but it was a beautiful fight in terms of action. I think it won Fight of the Year by some people. I don't think we're going to get that. Go ahead.
No. I'm sitting here thinking. I just think maybe we're caught up with different terminology.
Gotcha.
I thought it was a great fight. I didn't see anything beautiful about it. Just to use, I guess, the terminology that I would be safe with. I thought it was an entertaining fight.
Well, I love some of the exchanges they had. You know, Thurman, huge right hand. Shawn would even slip the next punch and cut. I thought some of that was really good work, and I think that it's not going to look like it did with Granados and Berto. I think this fight's going to look more like it did with Keith Thurman, where you get more of a fan-friendly fight than an ugly fight.
Well, here's the thing, and this is where I got lost with Danny. Danny has obviously he has a good pop in that hook of his, and he's a powerful fighter, whatever. But Danny actually has the ability to box. So when we look at other guys, even Terrence Crawford, who's a more traditional boxer, but he likes to bang. I thought that's what we would get more out of Danny, to be honest. Danny, someone mentioned it earlier. When it gets hot in the kitchen, he retreats a little bit. And we've seen that as he's faced stiffer competition. I guess we see that with a lot of guys. But, when I talk about him making a mark and doing well, I don't necessarily mean by KO or something like that. I think he can be patient and put on a boxing clinic. I think he has that kind of talent. But I don't know that he'll be composed enough with a puncher that's as aggressive as a Shawn Porter.
And he never has liked a high work rate. Even Brandon Rios in his last fight, I was there ringside February, was roughing him up. He bloodied his face up. He gave him some lumps. And he did that with activity and swapping him with pressure. Sounds a little bit like Shawn Porter, except Shawn's younger, faster, stronger, and just better. Right. So, but with that being said, we've seen Shawn be countered, and we've seen him gone down on a left hook, and Danny's got one of the best left hooks in the sport. So, but I mean, it's as cliche as it is. It really is a tough fight to pick this time, I think. And so is next week with Canelo and Triple G.
Well, Shawn, you were in camp with Shawn. Shawn was in camp with Shawn for the final week. Rock, you were at Danny's media day. So can you kind of give us an idea of how, I mean, obviously they didn't tip their hand, they didn't show the game plan, but just based on what you saw out of Danny, like, how do you think he's going to approach the fight with Shawn? And then Shawn, we'll get to you about Porter.
That's a hard question to answer because Danny doesn't really wear his emotions on his sleeve. He's pretty much a cool and relaxed type of dude. His father seems like he's not the same angel as we've seen in the past. I think Danny expects to win. I agree with you guys. He needs to have a good show. I don't think he needs to just win. I don't think he can screech out of it with just a win, kind of like with Lamont Peterson or with Herrera, where everybody thought he lost and he got the nod. I think he needs to have a decisive win. To answer your question, though, you really couldn't tell. He looked in great shape, but he's always in shape during the fight. So I don't think I could tell if he was mentally, I don't know, if he felt like he had a mental edge or he had a chip on his shoulder or he just thought that he was going to go in there and win this fight. Although I think he really needs to. He needs to have a good show.
Yo,
I think this is his last chance to make it to like that top tier celebrity fighter. You know, I think if you lose, this is a must win, or he just becomes, you know, your average 3-time champion, so to speak. That makes sense.
Yo, not for nothing, Rock, but you look like you're about to murder somebody. You're like parked next to the woods in a van, and you've got is that I can see a dog in
I'm working, man. I had to do this on my lunch break, man. So you know what I mean. Sorry if I look like a killer, but
no. It's it's just funny. Like I see the dog and the dog cage in the back, and you're parked next to the woods. It looks like you're ready to grab a girl and throw her in there or something.
Nah, man. Listen, man. I'm a good guy, man.
No. You're a great guy. You're a great guy. Shawn, what about Porter? Like you were in camp with I mean, I obviously I was with you the first time we went and saw Shawn, but you were in camp for what do they call it? Peak week. You know, the most important week for Porter and for any fighter really. What kind of sense did you get out of Shawn just being able to see him in that final week of training?
Well, first of all, I got more of the vibe that Rock was driving a company truck. It was on his grown man shit on his lunch break. That's the vibe I got, more than the serial killer vibe.
I'm sorry, mate. The woods. I think the woods is what threw me off. I saw the woods next to him, and it kind of threw me off.
But from Shawn's mentality, I was there for peak week. I got a good look. Shout outs to Kenny and Shawn for giving us the time to really sink our teeth into his camp. But in terms of how he is mentally, it's interesting. I think people would look at our interview we have up, and they would see that he said this wasn't the best camp of his career. Yeah. That this may have not even been the first or may not even been the second best camp of his career. And I think people would look at that and understandably raise their eyebrows. But how many fighters have we heard say it's the best camp of my life? I'm in the best shape of my life. And then they put on the worst performance of their life. So I say that because I like a guy whose confidence is based in reality. Look at Sergey Kovalev. The second fight with Andre Ward, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to end his career. All this big talk and then a lesser performance. He was better off being in reality when heading into the first fight. He says he's a great fighter and it's 50-50. That kind of mental spurned him on better than deluding himself, telling him he's this and he's that when reality doesn't match up. So I say that because when Shawn says it wasn't his best camp, but then the next second says, oh, I'm still going to win this fight hands down and I'm coming to get the belt. That shows you that his confidence isn't diluted. He's not lying to himself. He's in reality. He knows he didn't have his best camp, but he's still 100% sure that he's going to win the fight. That being said, I still really question him not having strength and conditioning coach Larry Wade for this camp. Larry, for those that don't know, has been with Shawn for the last 4 years. And he has Shawn do these workouts that you see, for example, Lomachenko do with his footwork, those little those things he lines up and he goes in and out, in and out, in and out. Larry had him on a professional athlete's regimen. Whereas now that he's back with his father, not back with his father, now that it's just his father and Barry Hunter, they got Shawn just doing old school boxing type workouts, you know, run 800 meters, then go on the mitts. Larry had him doing stuff like that too, but it was all regimented to where you knew it was a man who went to school for this and was a professional at getting the best out of not just boxers' bodies, but athletes' bodies. So I do wonder if Shawn, without that voice he got comfortable with, without that preparation he got comfortable with, can perform to optimal levels. But I did know that there's a little scoop that Larry has been talking to Shawn every day. He's still been providing Shawn that extra voice. I would imagine that would entail still maybe giving him exercises that he would be giving him if he was there. So mentally, I think there are question marks surrounding Shawn because of the changes in his camp. But he seems to be comfortable with the fact that maybe he didn't have his best camp and he still feels he's going to win the fight. So Yeah, but we got to see if on fight night, if in the back of his head doubts start creeping. I'm feeling a little winded. Maybe if Larry was here, I'd feel fresher. Things like that. But mentally, Shawn is one thing. He's reliable. Not just in fight night. When you want him there at 2:30, he shows up at 2:30. So Shawn's reliable. He's not going to beat himself in there.
Yeah,
Hey, Shawn, I have a question since you were in camp with him. What's going on with the hand injury? I mean, is that like something that's going to reoccur in the fight with Danny? Has it completely gone away? Has it healed itself? Is he going to need surgery in the future?
I had never heard of it. They had never brought it up to me once, and this is my first time hearing about it, which I think
he suffered a hand injury and
Granados.
fight with, yeah.
They never brought it up to me once.
He admitted the fact that he was kind of confused. He never experienced an injury like that. So, I mean, I feel like if that injury comes up again, Danny is going to take more advantage of it than Granados was able to.
Yeah, I did ask Shawn about the hand when I spoke to him, and he said he forgot about it. He said he forgot he even had a hand injury. So, from what he said, the hand's good to go. It's not an issue. But you're right. I mean, what happens if he catches Danny on the head a little bit wrong and it reminds him of the injury? Will that play a factor into the fight?
And then just about peak week, real quick, Shawn, because I saw his last sparring session a couple days ago. Shawn, this is another reason why I think it's going to be a great fight, because Shawn offensively looked maybe better than I've ever seen him. His jab was on point. He was doubling it up, working levels with it, coming with crisp, fast, hard combinations behind it. But here's the interesting thing. He was also getting touched up a good amount. He was getting hit a lot. And so I think that tells you it's going to be a good fight, because his offense is on point, maybe better than it's ever been, but he's also getting touched up as sparring.
I think the reason you probably saw that is, it's funny what you just said. It actually took me back to a conversation with Jeff Mayweather years ago, where he was saying after a fighter hits a certain amount of fights, his identity basically becomes his identity. You can add some new wrinkles or do some things, but at that point they kind of are who they are. I can see Porter and his crew adding a few new wrinkles, but similar to what I was saying about GGG earlier, you're only going to get so much evolution out of a guy this deep into his career. And I think no matter what you train with and what you do in training, when you start getting hit and you see that shit coming down the pike at you with some heat on it, you're going to revert back to what you're used to. And I think that's what we'll probably see. And that's probably why you saw him getting touched up a little bit.
Yo, just to clarify, somebody actually commented Shawn Porter is sparring broads for the Garcia fight. Obviously, he's probably referring to the interview, Shawn, that you did with Shadeja Green. I know Shadeja mentioned that she has been in the ring with Shawn before, but I don't think Shawn wasn't sparring Shadeja Green to prepare for this fight. I just know Shadeja for a very, very long time has been asking to get that work with Shawn, and at some point they eventually did, and she was just kind of commenting on that. She wasn't saying that they had been sparring, or she was helping him spar in preparation for Danny Garcia.
No, he's sparring with Shane Mosley Jr. Well, not Shane Mosley Jr.
Right.
Roberto Garcia.
He took the sugar from the sun. He said, whoa, not Shane Mosley. Just Shane Mosley Jr. Wow. Okay, yeah. Shane Mosley Jr., Roberto Garcia.
And a kid named Paul Kroll, who's 1-0, who made the Olympic team, or he was an alternate for the last Olympics, I think.
Who did the better job of emulating Danny Garcia?
That kid Paul Kroll gave a good impersonation. Then that's why he was touching Shawn, and this is a kid with one fight, so in the pros. Yeah. But he did do a good impersonation.
better than Shane's impersonation?
I was gonna say that, but I thought Shane's impersonation didn't get enough credit. I mean, wow. He had the rhythm. He had the rhythm and the stance down. It was just the punches were silly.
Do you and again, not to give away any type of game plan or anything like that, but Shawn, can you kind of comment on what Shane was doing there? I know they were working on something, so Shane wasn't exactly trying to, go in there and imitate the speed or anything like that of Danny Garcia, but they were definitely working on something, right?
Shane was telling me it was just trying to show Shawn Danny's rhythm and really his feet, because Shane was saying when he fought guys, he would look at their feet, and certain guys had tells before
tendencies,
they had tendencies. So he was just trying to show. I think what he was trying to tell him was that Danny loads up on that front foot when he gets ready. He gets a little rhythm and then steps on it for a second and then bam. And so I think he was telling him, when you see that front foot load up, either hit him with a jab to offset it so you can get your punch there first and then he misses over the top, or get the hell out of there. Or get anticipate it, slip it, and hit him to the body and then get out of there. He was trying to show him Danny's little tells, his little patterns that he has before he throws the left hook in particular. He wasn't really worried about nothing else. He was just showing him this is what he does before the left hook comes. That was his main point he was trying to get across.
Yeah.
Fellas, I want to throw this one out there. I saw it in the chat board down here in the threads, and it's one of the few things about this fight we haven't actually touched on yet. The fathers. What have they been like in camp so far? Are we expecting any theatrics or anything crazy if Danny get the hell knocked out of him? Like, what's going to happen between the fathers? We see anything on that front?
Sean, tell us. Sean, you already got that on. Actually, Rock, you were talking to Angel. You were there when Angel had the Shane Mosley clown face on.
I think ever since the Thurman fight, someone must have talked to Angel and told him to kind of tone it down. He hasn't been the same Angel since like the Judah or when he said he doesn't know any Arabs that can't fight. He's not really super offensive. I mean, he kind of, was a little offensive with the clown hair, emulating Shawn Porter's afro or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know if he's a factor the way he used to be, like jumping up in the dad's face. Or you seen the face-off between the fathers, the little sit-down that Showtime had. It looked a little, I don't want to say cheesy, but it looked a little, you didn't get your typical Angel or your typical Porter. It was kind of like a softball. It was softball.
He did say that I know Angel commented on the fact that Kenny brought in Barry Hunter and Shane Mosley, and he did kind of take a jab at him, saying that he's not confident. It takes 3 of them to go against me. So I hear what you're saying about him being not as controversial, and I don't know how controversial he can be in this particular fight, other than throwing the N-word out there. But I do see him starting to take a few shots now, and I know Kenny actually responded to you, Sean, and he was like questioning Angel's credentials because he never saw Angel Garcia around in the amateurs when they had the kids and everything.
Yeah, I think just real quick, even when Angel had that rep as being a big loudmouth asshole, I think I'm interested. Rock, wouldn't you say he was still always a pretty good guy to talk to? And
dude, behind the cameras, man, Angel is one of the best out there, man. Mm-hmm. I know he kind of like blows up on people on camera, but behind the scenes, man, Angel is cool as fuck. Honestly.
Yeah. I just wanted to get that out there for him,
Right.
Somebody said he's racist. Do you feel like he's racist?
No, he's from the hood. He just.
I feel Angel is racist. I don't think he's. I really don't. I mean, I know he's made a lot of racist comments. I mean, he supports Trump, but I really can't say that he's racist. I think he's a good dude. I think he has the average amount of races that any person from his generation has, especially like being from the neighborhood that he's from. But other than that, I really can't. No, I don't think Angel is racist at all.
I would say he dishes it out to everybody. There was one time, actually for the Rios fight, and Angel's always super cool to me, but he's talking with Dante and them, and he says, he's like, hey, man, I just tell the truth, brother. He goes, hey, the white people, they don't like it when I tell the truth. They know that they stole our land. And, he went on it. So I think that's just Angel, man. He spits in all directions.
And I don't blame him for trying to get the mental edge by saying racist shit. You know what I mean? If that can help his son in the ring and get in these guys' heads, I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's racist. I just think he's Puerto Rican, and
And from Philly.
it's not a knock.
Puerto
It's
Rican
just,
and from Philly.
Hey, he's Puerto Rican and
And
from
make
Philly.
it,
Yeah, it's not a
your
knock.
wife
It's
is
just,
Puerto Rican.
yeah,
so you
yeah. I
can
mean,
say
my
that.
wife. Yeah, my wife is Puerto Rican, so I know what the culture's like and everything, and I think a lot of times a lot of Puerto Ricans they're just as black as I am. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think he's racist at all. I think the closest you could say he was to being racist.
About Crawford.
Yeah, when he went off on Crawford.
That was
I was there
yeah.
for that.
for me.
Yeah.
And I
I was
thought
there
that
for
was.
Yeah, the Terrence Crawford. You could also argue some of the stuff he was saying about Amir Khan as well.
Oh yeah.
That definitely crossed lines.
But again, I think he was doing that more to get into Amir's head, and
it worked.
It worked.
Unfortunately.
It worked. But yeah. At the end of the day, I don't think the fathers are going to play any role in this fight. But I don't know. It's still early.
Angel
Fight
wants
weeks
no
just started.
smoke. So
And that's a bummer because I would love to see, some entertainment outside of the ring, man. I would love to see a good press conference where Angel just goes off and Kenny goes off. I would love to see that.
What did you say?
I don't know. I would love to see Kenny versus Angel shouting match at the press conference. And for those who don't know, man, Kenny Porter is diesel as F, yo. He is very diesel. He doesn't look like a guy to be played with at all.
That's what he said. He said Angel don't want to play with me. Oh! Yeah.
yeah, that's Kenny's take on it. Kenny's take is that they're both from the neighborhood, and Angel, growing up there, knows better than to mess with Kenny because he can read people and he knows Kenny's not the one to play with. But that being said, I still think we might get some shit.
Really?
Some fireworks.
I have a quick question for the panel. I don't know if it's too soon to ask this, but where does this fight, for whoever loses, where does that put their career? If Danny loses, where does that put his career? Where does it put his career if Shawn loses?
I think I think they'd be going in opposite directions, be honest. Porter, no one is I won't say nobody's expecting. Porter has less, I think he has less, how can you say it? He has less pressure on him going into this fight, in my opinion, because most people are picking Danny to win it. If Porter can come in and put in a good performance, clean up some of the messiness that he does every now and then, I think you have to look at him as some force because unlike Danny, who we said earlier, when it gets a little hot, he seems to retreat a little bit. Porter, we know, is going to come to fight, no matter who's in front of him, no matter what they're packing. So I think that he would get strong support if he's able to actually beat someone like Danny. If Danny were to lose this fight, I think Danny's days being viewed as a perennial player in the welterweight division would definitely be numbered because he's not. Yeah, I mean, he's going to get fights. We know that. But in terms of, like I said, being a perennial player where you look at this guy as a top 3 in the mix with possibly Thurman, Spence, Crawford, he has to win and he has to look good doing it. Even if he wins and it's questionable, I think he continues to have stalled momentum. I don't think it's going to be good for him.
Well, listen, a loss is never good for anybody. Like, nobody wants to lose. But I don't think a loss damages either one of them. I mean, again, it depends on how they look. I mean, if they just show up and shit the bed, then, that wouldn't be a good look. But, if it's a good competitive fight, which I think it's going to be, whether it's sloppy or not, I think it's going to be competitive. Whoever loses, I think there's plenty of fights still out there for them. I mean, they could still fight a Keith Thurman. They could fight Errol Spence. They could fight Crawford. I mean, like you said, they're still going to get fights, V. But I'm not, just because one loses to the other, I'm not going to rule out, their chance of still beating a top welterweight. Just because Danny loses to Shawn or Shawn loses to Danny, I'm not going to rule out that they can't beat Keith Thurman in a rematch because they possibly could. Now where would that put them as far as top 3 or anything like that? I don't, it's hard. I mean, look, you got Errol Spence, you got Terrence Crawford. I mean, those are 2 of the top 3 spots right there. So there's really only one other top spot, and most people would probably give that to Keith Thurman. So they're probably not in the top 3 anyway. But I definitely would still rank them in the top 5 welterweights, whether they win or lose. Just because I don't like what other welterweights are out there that you think would just run through them. I mean, are we talking like Jamal James now? If they lose, does that mean it's the Jamal James era now? And most people would be like, who's Jamal James? But yeah, no, I think they'll still be top, fighters in the division. But yeah, I mean, a loss definitely is never good. But I still think that they would still be up there unless, like I said, they just totally shit the bed and just look like crap. And just based on what I've seen from both of them in this training camp, they both look good. They both look solid. They both look in shape, and they both look ready to go to war. So I think they're still going to be top welterweights. Just my take, though.
My biggest takeaway from both of these interviews is what the father said about the opposing fighter. Kenny Porter said that Danny can't move and throw punches at the same time. That was I think the key is going to be the key for Shawn Porter to win this fight. And Angel, had critique of Shawn, and he said that he can't fight moving backwards. And I think that ultimately Danny's going to have to back him up, and throw punches at the same time. I think he's going to have to come to him. I think the dance for Garcia. On the ropes, he's going to get headbutt. He's going to get hit dirty. He's going to get a barrage of punches. I think he definitely needs to keep the fight in the center of the ring and try to back Shawn Porter up most of the fight.
But what does it mean? But what does it mean to either one if they lose?
For Shawn, I don't think he takes as much of a hit if he loses because he has a style that's very specific. Like I can say that Danny versus Terrence Crawford, I can kind of picture that fight in my mind, and I think that that would be a good fight between the two. But Crawford versus Shawn, I think that would be a harder fight for Crawford just because of Shawn's barrage of punches in his activity. So I think Shawn is always going to be worthwhile for the division because of his activity and his style. I think that Danny is going to take more of a hit.
I agree.
Just because of his style, if he loses. And also because there's so much scrutiny on him about, two of the other fights that a lot of boxing fans thought he lost, which is Herrera and the Lamont Peterson fight. I think people are going to say, see, he really lost those fights, and they're going to look at him as if he lost more than he actually had, and he's only had one loss. But I think they're going to, pick him apart if he loses this fight.
Yeah, well, you know what, you mentioned about him only having one loss, and that's kind of what I was getting at earlier about Danny. He lost some major momentum after that Matisse fight, and he only has himself, and depending on who you listen to.
Well, V, what do you mean? What do you mean when you say he lost momentum? Like because his numbers aren't down. Like people are still watching him fight. So what exactly do you mean he lost momentum?
Well, when we say his numbers are down, I haven't looked at the numbers, so I can't really speak on that. But what I will say is this: that's where the cherry picker stuff started. That's where people kind of turned their back on Danny a little bit. Listen, I was very high on Danny at one point, extremely high. I liked him, cool demeanor, laid back dude. He's the kind of dude that I have a beer with. Like, he just seems laid back like that, good guy. But I mean, from strictly from the pugilistic standpoint, standing in the ring, he had everything going for him, and it's like he just took his foot off the gas. He stopped facing the same level of opposition. There were people he could have fought that he didn't fight. I just think there was a lot of bad moves. At one point, I really thought we'd see him and Mayweather, for whatever reason.
That's not his fault, though. But that's not his fault. It's not his fault he didn't get the Floyd fight.
Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. But
he didn't do himself favors.
My point is he had the talent, and he was the one being eyed for that spot. And he took his between. I won't say him because I'm going to put some of this on his management team too. Between him and those who helped run his career, he basically He didn't go in the direction that would have elevated him to a different level, and that's why we're still questioning him.
Who do you think? So, who do you think he should have? Like, who would have taken him to that next level? What moves, if you were guiding his career after the Matisse fight, what moves would you have made for him?
Real quick.
Go ahead, Shawn.
I think him and Adrian Broner should have fought around 2014. I know Broner lost to Maidana, but I really think that fight would have sold out Barclays. They had similar
regionally, if nothing else, that would have been a hell of a fight.
Yeah, and stylistically.
But do you blame? But do you blame Danny for that fight not happening?
Well, like you said, it's not his fault that he didn't get the Mayweather fight, like you said. But what V's saying is he didn't cash in on all that momentum he had when he was being taught. He went from king of the super lightweights, who had beaten two guys that he was the real underdog to. 27 out of 30 guys stupidly picked Matisse to beat him. So he went from king of the super lightweights, who had shut everybody up, who had proven he was underrated, into the cherry picker. And it all did start with the Herrera fight. I mean,
Ben, so let me because Ben, I'm trying to get into your psychology for a second, Ben. Let's go back a couple years and look at that fight that he had in Puerto Rico, where he kind of embarrassed himself.
Was that Herrera?
Yeah, I believe that was. Yeah, that fight. Honestly, I think you could damn near say he lost that fight. He underperformed, and it's like he was one of them guys. You know that he has more than what he's giving you at times, and stuff like that, I think, brought us to where we are now. You know, there's a number of other fights I thought he underperformed. A guy with the talent that Garcia has, at least the talent I feel he has, would not have looked mediocre against a Robert Guerrero or some of these other guys he faced. Guerrero's, I know he's a dog. It is what it is. But again, this is a guy who literally has the skill to pick you apart, use his jab, use his hook. He doesn't have to get in some of these sloppy fights, and he always did. I think you could say he lost the Peterson fight. We could look at his resume and legitimately say there's 3 or 4 fights you could go the other way on. And it just, I don't know, man. Something went different with Danny. I don't know.
But I think in some sense, like I know what you're saying. There were fights that he underperformed in. And that happens. That happens with a lot of fighters. You know, but I think as far as saying, you know, like he didn't capitalize on the momentum that he had. I'm just trying to figure out, like, where do you expect him to be at this point? Because right now he is still.
I can answer that very easily.
Yeah, go ahead.
In 4 words.
Go ahead. Not
where he is. That's the bottom line.
But where?
Why are we not? Okay, I mean, this is a good fight, whatever. Why are we not seriously looking at an opportunity between him and Terrence Crawford?
Well, because
Crawford just came up too.
Because Terrence Crawford's with Top Rank. So it doesn't matter if we're talking about Danny Garcia or Errol Spence or Keith Thurman. None of those guys, or Floyd Mayweather, none of those guys can capitalize on a Terrence Crawford fight right now because Terrence Crawford is across the street. He's with Bob Arum, and Bob Arum has different business plans than what Al Heyman has. So really, I don't use Terrence Crawford as the litmus test. When I talk about where Danny Garcia
I get that.
is,
I think it's a good fight. But here's the thing.
No, I think it's a good fight too. But I'm just saying it's like you can't say, well, you know, if Danny would have fought all these guys, then he would be fighting Terrence Crawford right now, because that's not true. What I'm saying is more.
Let's do this. Let's do this. We don't even have to look at where he is now and where he's going. Again, I think the moves they made and the performances he gave after the Matisse fight did not help Danny Garcia.
I don't.
That's really just the best way for me to put it.
But what I'm saying is that I don't think it hurt. I think if you're talking about perception in the eyes of fans, yes. If you have a shitty performance, that affects your perception in front of the eyes of fans. But as far as where he's at in his career right now, he is still a top welterweight. He is still getting top fights. He is still getting top monies. He is still getting top views. Like right now, Danny Garcia is a top 5 welterweight, and if he would have fought anybody else or looked any better against anybody else, I don't think it would have changed the fact that most people would still consider Terrence Crawford the man, Errol Spence the man, and Keith Thurman the man at welterweight besides Danny Garcia, Shawn Porter, and some of these other guys. I really don't think there's anybody, like, he could have blasted out Brandon Rios in the first round, and I don't think that would have changed the fact that people still would have had Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Keith Thurman rated above him. So that's kind of where I'm talking about, like what do you mean as far as his momentum? Like, are you talking his momentum in his career? Because or his momentum as far as, you know, his perception in front of fans? Because
I think one correlates with the other, though, Ben. That's just my take. But I think one does. Listen, yeah, he's going to get those fights. We see guys who've actually taken losses still get big. Look at Adrian Broner. Broner has taken a couple L's and still gets big fights. Some guys, when you got a certain, you know, your region behind you, your Puerto Rico, whatever it is, you're going to be out there. You're going to get fights. I'm just saying he could be in a much better position in the eyes of the fans and in accordance with his career than he is.
I will give you he could be in a better position in the eyes of his fans. I'll give you that, because I do agree if you know, he would have looked better than if he would have fought different guys, then the whole cherry picker moniker wouldn't be out there and whatnot. But
well, I mean, I'd be tempted to say, well, how come he couldn't quite cash in on the Puerto Rican audience like Cotto and Trinidad did? But it's because, one, he's from America, and he's not as good, as those guys.
Right,
and he's not as good as those guys. He's a good fighter, but
island Puerto Rican versus American Puerto Rican,
two different things.
Yeah.
Two different things.
Yeah, big.
But we've seen it work in America with Mexican fighters.
And technically, Shawn, Miguel Cotto wasn't as loved in Puerto Rico as you would think. You know, like my wife, you know, a lot of other Puerto Ricans, weren't really big Miguel Cotto fans because he, you know, his personality was not
kind of like Mexicans with Canelo.
Kind of like Mexicans with Canelo, exactly. But no, I
have a question for.
Yeah, go ahead, Rock.
What don't you like about Danny Garcia's resume after Matisse? He fought 8 guys. The only fight I don't agree with was the Rod Saka fight. But he fought Peterson. He fought Malignaggi. Those are good fights. He fought Guerrero. I mean, Samuel Vargas, you know, but that was a homecoming fight for him. He fought Keith Thurman. Brandon Rios was a comeback fight after the loss to Keith Thurman, and now he's fighting Shawn Porter. I think that's a pretty
Rios.
Well, you know what? Let me actually that's a very you just threw a softball across the plate, bro. That's an easy one to answer. I'm gonna be honest. That's a very easy one to answer, my man. No, that was. I'm just giving you a hard time, big man. No, real talk though. The thing is this. Let me ask you a question. I know you're not supposed to answer a question with a question, but here's the deal. Of all of those fights, pretty decent names, which one do you think he actually performed in accordance with the skill level we know he has? Because some of them fights, I would venture to say all of them, he could have made a lot easier and still won. Which one do you think? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't hear that.
I think.
Oh, he froze up. He said the Thurman fight.
And what's that?
You're breaking up, Rock. I can't hear you, man. Say that again.
Am I breaking up again? I said the Thurman fight.
But would that be the only one that you think he did not perform at the level in which we know he's capable of?
He looked pretty good against Rod Saka.
I think he did.
Sammy Vargas.
Hey, shit, I can look good against Rod Saka.
No, you can't. You lying. You lying.
I don't want to disrespect nobody, but
you lying. Rod Saka would piece you up, V. Quit lying.
Put him in there. Put him in. No, I'm just kidding. No, you know what? Funny thing about Rod, man, I didn't know much about Rod, but one of my boys from the Pitt region, Pittsburgh up there, was telling me and calling me, yo, you watching this? I know you in the box. And I checked it out, and it didn't last very long, if you remember. But anyway, back to you, Rock. I do think that he underachieved in a lot of those fights, and that has played into this whole cherry picking thing and the whole scenario with people not really feeling Danny on some level.
I'm okay. The cherry picking thing, I'm like that doesn't bother me. Like you're never gonna please fans. Fans think that Danny Garcia, after he fought Matisse, they think Danny Garcia should have fought Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence, in that order.
Listen, I'm gonna listen. When it comes to stuff like that, I like to apply the 70-30 rule. You got 70% of the fans saying the same damn thing. Something's wrong. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's not a small percentage of fans saying he's a cherry picker. He literally probably does not go on certain websites now or social media sites. Everyone is saying it, bro.
But what I'm saying though, V, is that who cares what fans are saying about you based off.
Bro,
I'm just saying I'm just saying that I don't think that what
Ben,
fans are saying relates to your momentum in your career.
Listen, I get it. We're all big boys. We got on our big boy pants. We're gonna pump our chests out. I get it. We could take it. People gonna talk shit about us. We good with that. But here's my thing. This is a talented fighter. This ain't some mediocre middle of the road guy. Danny is a great fighter.
Yo, V, somebody said
doesn't always look like a great fighter. What's up?
Yo, V, somebody said I just got to throw this out there because I just thought it was funny. Somebody said your 70-30 rule. Somebody said 70% of the fans thought Manny Pacquiao was going to beat Floyd Mayweather.
Doesn't make him right. Doesn't make him right, but you got
doesn't make him right.
Anyway, I believe that one alone. Y'all gonna have me on a whole different conversation.
Guys,
anyway,
go ahead.
I'll what Rock said about the last 8 fights. I'm gonna be harsh here. I'm gonna go a little too harsh, and I'm gonna rip up what he's done in those fights. Right? Yeah. Herrera, gift. Right?
Okay. I'll give you that.
No. I'm not saying I even think this, but I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna take it harsh. Okay. I'm just gonna say what's an argument that you can make plausibly.
Okay. Got you.
Herrera, gift. Right? Malignaggi, Guerrero, who's the other vet he fought? Hold on. Malignaggi, Guerrero, and Rios.
Peterson.
Cooked. Rios. Malignaggi, right, all 3 of them guys. Malignaggi, Guerrero, Rios, cooked. Done. Forget about it. Right?
Okay.
Lamont Peterson, gift.
Okay.
Sammy Vargas and Rod Salka, bums.
Okay.
And Keith Thurman, L.
Wow. So maybe.
I don't even like doing that.
You can't say Lamont Peterson fight was a gift, man.
I didn't think so. I thought Danny won.
Hey, Peterson did enough to get the nod in that fight. You could argue that. I think.
I guess my point is I think maybe V, you have higher expectations out of Danny Garcia based off of what he did to Lucas Matisse. So I'll give you that. Like I get what you're saying because I know a lot of people were picking Matisse to win that fight, and Danny like really schooled him and looked really good against him.
If Danny showed up and executed the way that he did when his ass was under the gun with Matisse, honestly, Danny would be. I think we'd be looking at Danny totally differently right now. I would.
You might be right.
But how much of that is because Danny just underperformed versus, maybe some of those guys he fought at the time stepped up, like Lamont Peterson. Lamont Peterson, I mean, you could say that was a gift, and even Angel Herrera, you could say that was a gift. But how much of that was it a gift, or was it those 2 guys just absolutely stepping up and giving Danny Garcia how good is Danny Garcia really? I mean, even with his Amir Khan win, Amir was kind of boxing his ears off before he caught him. So I guess it depends on where you consider Danny Garcia is.
Okay, so let's talk strategy. Here's the thing with Danny. Knowing that he has the ability to be a far more diverse fighter.
Yeah.
I think he puts way too, and a lot of fighters are guilty of this, so I'm not going to only put it on him, but I think he puts way too much into his one big bomb. And it's coming, so if you can stay out of the way of it and do a few things.
But maybe that's because that's who he is. Like maybe he's not as diverse as you're giving him credit to be. We
saw his diversity. He did it when he was under the gun. And when he knows that he's listen, listen, let's look at some great fighters of the past. And I'm not going to say he's a Mayweather, obviously. But let's look at some of the other guys that we could think of in the history of the sport who sometimes they come out, they fight a certain way, and they're content coasting to a victory. But when they know they're under the gun, they're going to take the fight to you rather than let you bring it to them because they don't want to be on the defensive. Right. Danny Garcia is a tough kid. We've never seen him down. We've never, I mean, how many times have we even really seen Danny hurt, per se?
He's got a chance. He's a strong kid.
That's my point. So, okay, so that's leading to my biggest point. How often have we seen a guy with a totally reliable chin refuse to step into the lion's den? That's my point. Like, he doesn't do it, and I don't know why. Because he can actually be that guy. That got me rhyming. Damn. I'm about to join Eminem them. Go ahead, man.
But Danny should have fought Broner back in the day. That could have helped. In 2014, that could have helped his marketability a little bit. That would have been a sold-out fight in Barclays. And they were two guys who would routinely make World Star Hip Hop back then. When World Star Hip Hop was one of the biggest sites.
I don't think Adrian wanted the fight. I don't know if that was Danny. I think that was Adrian that didn't want it.
Well, he wound up fighting Shawn.
I'll tell you. Hey, actually, I'll tell you a fight I really wanted to see him in a couple years back. A fight that I thought would have been a really great fight was him and Timothy Bradley.
Yeah, Tim Bradley left some fights on the table. There's a lot of good fights I could see Tim Bradley in.
I always wanted to see Mayweather Bradley. That would have been a great one.
Ooh, no.
Mayweather would have picked him apart.
Mayweather picked him apart. Bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
I don't think that's even an enjoyable fight.
I still wanted to see it.
I would have watched it.
I'm with you.
I hear you, Rock.
Oh, yeah.
I would have picked Floyd like everybody, but I would have liked to have seen that.
Real quick, though, I don't want to spend too well. I mean, we've spent like an hour on Danny Garcia.
Oh, but hey, Ben.
What's up?
Just real quick, I just think because we asked earlier what happens to either guy if they lose.
Oh, yeah.
I think Shawn slides right into a more defined role as a gatekeeper. You know,
what?
I do.
Gatekeeper.
Well, the highest of the high level gatekeeper for the world titles. Basically, if you beat me, you get a shot at the title kind of guy, or but I just think that. He like Rock was saying, he has an exciting style. Well, not an exciting style, but he has an aggressive style, a style that you don't have to go running for this guy, chasing this guy all day. He's going to make it a fairly entertaining fight. And unlike Danny, he's not used to being the A side. Right. So he's going to be more willing to just jump on a plane and go wherever the hell the fight is and be the B side. I think for Danny, if he loses this fight, he's going to have more of an eye towards retirement than Shawn is. Just because he's made a lot of money, he is content, and he's used to being the A side. I don't know if he's going to be too into climbing that ladder again, although this could all be moot because either guy after they lose could get a fight with Errol Spence anyways. Right. But I do think Shawn would have a more defined role that he'd be accepting of if he loses rather than Danny. I don't think Danny's going to be too fond of being the B side.
Somebody said I look like I'm getting old. I am old, bro. I'm getting very old. But yeah, no, I just wanted to real quick, just because Shawn, I know you got to get out of here soon, and Rock's got a dog in the van that's overheating. I wanted to touch on Wilder versus Fury, because V, I know you're probably itching to touch on that. I know you've seen some reports out there. Is it happening? Is it not going to happen? There's still been no date. There's still been no venue announced. What's going on with that fight? Have you guys heard anything?
I'm not hearing what I want to hear. That's the problem. I'm not hearing that it's signed. I'm not hearing that we're any closer. As a matter of fact, depending on who you want to listen to, I'm hearing we're further away than where we were a week or two ago, which is it's not really a good thing. It's gonna, from what I understand, we will know whatever there is to know by the end of this week. 3-4 days, whatever's gonna be sealed is gonna be sealed. Whatever is not is not. But I'm told that it should all be wrapped up by the end of the week. So I guess we'll have to see. What are you guys hearing? Anybody hearing anything else?
I mean, not outside of. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you all saw the tweet that. I think it was a tweet that Dan Raphael put out there saying he spoke to someone in Tyson Fury's management, saying that he's having second thoughts. I know since then Tyson Fury came out and said that's not true. Frank Warren came out and said that's not true. The fight is definitely happening. Here's the thing. I know there's still been no date or venue announced, but that's the norm with Al Heyman fights. Like, that does not surprise me. Like, Al Heyman usually announces, even with the Danny Garcia Shawn Porter fight, I think that fight was announced, like, I don't know, just 7 weeks ago, you know? Like, they literally always wait until the last minute to announce that information. But I think the important thing is that Showtime put out a press release that actually says the fight is on and the date and the venue is going to be announced. I mean, Showtime sent the press release out the day of Tyson Fury's fight with Pianetta. So it was after the fight was over. They sent that press release out. And Showtime is a huge company. They're not going to send out a press release. Look, these guys don't send out press releases on pay-per-view numbers unless they're 100% sure about it. So I really don't think they would have sent out a press release if they had any doubt that this fight was going to happen. So the fight is, in my opinion, the fight is definitely going to happen. But they're just working on the date and the venue still. And from what reports are, it sounds like the date is either going to be November 10th or November 17th. And the venue is probably going to be Las Vegas, probably at, well, I don't know if it's going to be T-Mobile Arena. They might just go at they might just go to MGM Grand. They might just go to the small arena. I'm not sure if it's a T-Mobile type of fight. So, or they may just be, you know, they might have the venues in a bidding war right now, you know. Like, I know Barclays is making a strong play for the actual fight. So you know, Al may be having Barclays and MGM bidding against each other to try and up the price, up the money. That,
you know what, I will tell you this regarding, now that's an interesting point, and I'll just throw this out there. I actually think that's a better fight in New York. I mean,
Me too.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I mean, that look, New York, you got guys. What is that from across the pond? You can fly right in there.
Right in.
I won't say for next to nothing, but it's a much easier place to get to. You get a lot more UK fans. Yep. You already got a huge British contingent there. I think that's a great fight there.
I think for one, New York fans are better fans than we get in Vegas. I know that from experience. But not just that, but the Garden has a history of heavyweight championship boxing. This is the house that had Ali, Frazier, Lennox, and Holyfield, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I just think that's a good look to the casual market, that you'd be having a heavyweight championship fight at Madison Square Garden on pay-per-view. I just think it's just a better look, and the building has more history, and that New York fans are more knowledgeable and they bring more passion to the fight. And it's an easier trip for the fans from the UK to make. I think I'd rather. I mean, I live in Vegas, and I'm saying I'd rather them put it in New York. You know, but I just real quick about
a question I just want to put out there. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shawn.
No, go ahead, Rock.
I was thinking that the fight should be in Wembley, and I know that's a stretch because Wilder is the A side and everything, but I think that takes away all that fame and all the conversation that Joshua always sells out Wembley, and you know he has these big numbers. What if that fight was over there in Wembley? You think that would raise his status as a superstar if they were to sell it out?
I just feel like they got the Fury and these top English fighters, Fury, Joshua, these guys that could really draw. They already got the UK on lock. So why not broaden the audience a little bit?
Well, here's the thing: they have to do the fight over here in America because it's got to be on US pay-per-view. You know, if they go overseas in Wembley, then you know you have a problem with start times for the pay-per-view. You don't want to do a US pay-per-view during the day. You need to do it at night. A lot of times it's about, you know, the time of the day and where the money is. And for this particular fight, the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight, the money is coming from America. So that's the reason why it's going to be over here. And I think that's the reason why the venue has not been announced. I mean, they very well could have locked in the venue yesterday or a couple days ago, and they're just waiting for the right moment to announce it. But I think a lot of the times that's the reason why fights get announced late on the Heyman side, is because Al Heyman is very, very good at securing venues. You know, you got to understand, Al Heyman didn't start in boxing. Al Heyman started in the music industry. Very, very long time ago,
Yes.
like maybe in the 90s or late 80s, early 90s,
I
the
just
whole
heard, I
TLC
just
era.
heard.
Go ahead.
Hey, actually, before that, a lot of people don't know the Jackson Fives. I believe New Edition. He goes way back.
Definitely,
I just heard it.
definitely
Yeah, I
New
just heard an
Edition.
interview the other day with Belle Biv DeVoe talking about him. I
Yeah.
was actually surprised.
Yeah, definitely New Edition. I don't know about the Jackson 5, but definitely New Edition.
Drake,
you know,
didn't Drake say on a song recently he's getting Al Heyman checks?
Probably. Well,
I think so. I heard.
Well, Al Heyman is still in the music industry. He's still in the music industry right now to this day. You can turn on the radio and hear Chris Brown is coming into town, and if you listen to the if you listen closely to the commercial at the end, they'll mention this has been a Heyman production or something. So you still hear Al Heyman's name in the music industry. So I think go ahead.
I just wanted to touch before we get going too was about, remember I said a couple weeks ago after we saw Fury against Pianetta, I said, and this isn't me going off any industry thing. I don't talk enough in the industry like you do, Ben, to really know what the movers and shakers are saying. I was just going off the fight, and I said, as bad as he looked, I said, if that fight comes off, right?
You did.
So I said, if the fight comes off, and I'm not surprised that when Dan Raphael said that he was hearing someone was balking at the fight, he said Tyson Fury's balking at the fight.
He did.
And that makes sense to me for one very simple reason, because he will lose. There's no ifs, ands, or buts in my mind. The way he looks right now, he will lose. And if I know that, he probably knows that.
Wow.
And I'm happy that Showtime's releasing that press release and everything. That's great news. Everything I'm hearing to reinforce that the fight is going to happen is great news. But Tyson Fury is literally the one guy who will fuck all of that off. Ask Vladimir Klitschko. He had a date, a press conference, a venue, a poster behind him that had the date, the venue, and the press conference, and he fucked it off twice. You know?
Twice. Wow.
Yeah. So just remember who we're dealing with here.
Wow. I don't know, bro. I don't know. That's a lot of money for him to just...
Yeah, I still think it'll happen, but I'm just saying.
but you're right, it could. I mean, I'm not ruling out an injury or something like that. But, you know, again, it's just... I know a lot of people. I know Eddie Hearn's been putting it out there. You know, I don't know if the fight's going to happen. But I just, like, why go through all these motions if you really don't believe or really don't want the fight? Like, it's just, I don't know.
What if Frank Warren wants to fight? What if Frank Warren's like, I want to get this motherfucker in the ring for a big, big fight before he gets back on some shit, or he loses to someone that he would have that's not all that like. I mean,
Fury
like
could still say no though. Like he could still say, I don't want to get involved in that. Like if he really does not feel like he's ready for that fight, then why go through the motions? Like it just doesn't make any sense to me why he would do that. So you know, like I said, the fight's definitely gonna happen. Whether or not they actually make it to the ring, you know, that's a whole different other story. But they're definitely going to be announcing the date and venue here soon. I just know the way that Al Heyman does business and the way that Showtime does business. They would not have put that press release out there if they were not confident that the fight was going to happen. And I think the only thing that's going on right now is that there's probably a bidding war. You know, Al's probably got the Barclays Center and MGM Grand going back and forth about who's going to get the fight, and he's trying to maximize the amount of money he can get because you got to pay these guys. You got to pay Tyson Fury. You got to pay Deontay Wilder. They want big money, and I don't know if there's a guarantee for big money on the pay-per-view side, so I think he's probably trying to get as much money up front as he can from site fees and stuff like that in order to compensate, you know, the amount of money that both of these guys have. I'm actually more curious to find out what the purses are than the actual fight. I want to find out who's making what.
Actually, somebody, I don't remember which source it was, but I think somebody touched on that. And if I remember correctly, they both sound to be pretty strong purses. But hey, have you guys heard anything about the possibility of December? Because I've heard that's actually on the table now. It's no longer between the 10th and the 17th of November. It could actually be staged in December. Has anyone else heard that?
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, but I don't think it's going to happen in December because December is a bad month to do pay-per-views. Like, if you can avoid doing a pay-per-view in December, you avoid it because of the holiday season, obviously. So I think November 10th, November 17th is still the target date. I think also part of the problem is either one of those dates. I don't know if it's the 10th or the 17th. I think T-Mobile is already booked for something. So, you know, that might be a problem. If they're trying to get T-Mobile, they may be trying to move something. I mean, you got to remember, this won't be the first time that Al Heyman has gotten T-Mobile to move an event so they can have it. I mean, again, the actual event that he did that for was a much bigger fight. It was Mayweather-McGregor. But if you remember, I believe Ice Cube's Big Three had a tournament that was going to happen there, and they ended up moving that so they could do Mayweather-McGregor. So
to the MGM.
Or exactly. So there might be some of that going on as well. I think that's the only reason why the venue and the date hasn't been announced, because, you know, obviously venue and date go hand in hand depending on, you know, when or where you can get the location at and when you can get it. So yeah, I mean, we'll hopefully they announce that this week.
Hey Ben.
Yeah.
I saw someone in the chat say, I don't know where they got the delusion that Mexican fans have a problem with Canelo. And it was like, I don't know. Gee, maybe it was when the fact that half of them booed him at his workout.
It wasn't even just that. I mean, I'll
be honest though, fellas. I kind of took them by surprise. I know some do, but I think he's very loved by Mexican fans.
I think he's got as many haters as lovers.
Yes,
really.
I think he's got as many haters as lovers. I know I've got, you know, a lot of Mexican friends who can't stand him. I can walk into my local, you know, Mexican joint, and, you know, they all know I cover boxing, so they're like, "Are you going to the Canelo fight?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm not going. You know, my man Shawn's gonna cover it," and they'll say, "Oh, I hope Canelo loses." Like, you'd be surprised at how many Mexican fans.
That's interesting.
It's like Oscar. It's like De La Hoya.
It's like De La Hoya.
It's interesting though, because it's like, do they really hate him, or is it just tough love? Because if you hate him, why are you ordering his fights every?
Yeah, no. I think it's probably the latter. Because I can tell you for a fact, I don't know many Mexicans that don't like Canelo. Look, when you look at Canelo, I think he's far more representative of Mexican and Mexican fighters than some of this we see. I was laughing the other night at the Ryan Garcia fight. I don't think, y'all help me with this if maybe I'm missing something, but when was the last time we saw a rising Mexican star come out to rap music? Like, was I the only one that felt off about that?
Well, he's not really. I wouldn't really call him a rising Mexican star. Like, he's
Oscar Valdez came out with a rapper, but he was a Mexican rapper.
I was like, damn, wait a minute now. This is different. But I don't know, guys. I think Canelo gets love.
When Canelo fought Chavez Jr., were more Mexican fans rooting for Chavez or Canelo?
Well, a lot of them don't like either one.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
But they order the fight though, so that's all that matters.
Well, but you can not like someone but still like boxing.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I mean,
I don't think he's at the point where he can't win them over. I think if he puts it on Triple G, they may turn over a lot of them.
Somebody said Canelo is arrogant. Jose Rodriguez said that. I think that's part of the problem. I mean, I'm not saying.
Well, shit, if you got an 8-pack and $100 million at 27, you might be arrogant too.
You might be arrogant too. Yeah, I'm not saying that Canelo is arrogant, but I think a lot of times when it comes down to, you know, certain people not liking this fighter, I think part of that is because of where they come from and their background, and I don't know if they look at Canelo as someone that, you know, comes from I don't want to say not the street, but just comes from the same kind of background and upbringing as they do.
Well, they're holding him to that standard of Chavez, Barrera, Morales, and Marquez, and he ain't quite that. And it's that simple sometimes. I mean, them guys.
I think it's his fighting style too. Some of his fighting style, you know.
But those guys never got tired. Marquez, Morales, Barrera, and Chavez. You know.
Yeah, but look how long. But look how long it took for Marquez to win over fans. Like, for a very, very long time, Marquez wasn't the darling. You know, as far as, you know, Mexican fans are concerned. Like right. They didn't look at him and say, "Yeah, go Marquez." But that's because of the way that Marquez fought. He didn't fight with, you know, that Mexican style.
All these guys though had these courageous moments, like Marquez getting up off the canvas 3 times, Morales beating up Pacquiao only 4 months after getting his ass kicked by Barrera. Like he hasn't had that fucking he's great moment. He's really good.
You know,
he's really good.
You know what, though? Let me inject a little NFL into this conversation.
Getting at that Barrera.
Check this out. I'm a Miami Dolphin fan, which I shouldn't say too loud just yet. But here's the deal, though. Check this out. A lot of people, when they talk Marino versus other greats, they use the whole ring discussion and how many comebacks this one had or whatever. I don't think we can hold it against the guy because he didn't have to have as many heroic comebacks or heroic not. But he might be just so good that he's avoiding that shit.
But beyond any heroic comeback, look, Morales beat Pacquiao when Pacquiao was a damn monster. Barrera beat Hamed when he was a damn monster. Marquez knocked out Pacquiao. Canelo needs to have that moment against Triple G.
No, but here's the – well, I mean, we could say that, but here's the deal. Canelo's not those guys. He don't fight like those guys, but I don't think it makes him less of a potential Mexican great. I think when it's all said and done, he could be one of the best. Let's look at it this way. If he goes on and beats GGG, he will basically cement his name into the Hall of Fame.
I agree.
No matter what he does after that. I really believe that.
I agree.
I think when we keep it on simple levels, that's really the way that we can beat that one out. But
that's why he's got to beat Triple G. He needs that moment.
He does.
That signature moment.
Does Triple G have more Mexican fans than Canelo?
No.
No.
Look at the pay-per-view numbers.
Look at the pay-per-view numbers.
Hey, wait, who the hell is this Dino Wells out there? Marino's not on the level. Dino, you need to send me a Facebook request. We're going to talk about that one, partner. Anyway.
But I do think actually, see, here's the thing. I do think Canelo is similar to Morales, Barrera, and Marquez in that those guys, first of all, especially Marco and Eric, they were faster than people remember. And same thing with Canelo. He's got fast hands. It's not what you think of right away when you think of Mexican fighters, but those guys had quick hands. I think he's talented and good just like those guys. He just hasn't. Those guys got every ounce of talent and potential they had of themselves. And I don't feel like Canelo's quite done that yet. I don't feel like he's, went to where he just pushed himself beyond all his limits, everything he could do. I think those guys did that, and that's how they were able to have those signature moments. And I just think that's what Canelo needs to be thinking about. Well, not thinking about, but that's what he needs to do against Triple G. Have that signature performance, man. So, and I think if he does that, he's gonna go up in status. I think you'll hear a lot less, haters. You're gonna hear people saying, "Well, Triple G was old," but if he puts it on Triple G, it's gonna shut up a lot of people.
I tell you what, let me go ahead and kill that one with a rebuttal right now.
But I do think Triple G's getting old.
Listen, no, I don't want to hear this. Listen, the guy whose legacy we measure his against was kicking people ass in his 50s almost. I don't want to hear about his age. We saw Mayweather. We saw many other greats do it. How old is Triple G now? 34, 35, 36?
36.
He's still young enough to put in a good 12.
But Bernard and Floyd are two. First of all, they're both greater fighters than him.
Bro, let me tell you something. Bernard wasn't even a boxer in the beginning. Like Bernard, when you look at his path, where he started and where he ended up, I mean, I give major kudos. I love Bernard.
Oh, yeah.
Golovkin was a fighter from back, when he was much, much younger. He doesn't have that excuse to me.
I just don't
better come to perform.
I think he's lost a step. I just call him like I said.
I do think he's starting to look a little old. Like his body.
Guys, look, guys. Oh my God, look, we're gonna have a damn fight. Seriously, so we gotta have a fight, fellas. Check this out. Seriously, think about the fight with what's the dude name? Willie Monroe. Willie Monroe. I can think of certain fights where guys were able to do certain things to exploit weaknesses, but just didn't have the chin and toughness and the durability to follow through with it. We're not seeing a guy getting older. We're seeing a guy facing better competition who's being exposed. Who the hell did he beat? Golovkin had 4 belts and only beat one actual champion for it.
But I think it's both, V. He's fighting better guys, but in his mid-30s because he came here so late and had to build his name. By the time he built his name and came to America, he was 34, 35 by the time he's fighting Danny Jacobs and Canelo. But
bro, I can't
look,
like that.
I don't think a prime
I'm
Triple
sorry.
G beats Hopkins or something. I'm not saying that. I don't think he beats James Toney at middleweight in his
James
prime.
Toney would have beat his ass. Pardon my French to anyone I'm
But I
offended.
do think in
James
his own
Toney would
right.
have embarrassed him.
But I do
Period.
think in his own right, he's a great middleweight, a Hall of Famer,
Yes.
and he's lost a step. That's what I think, and that's just calling it like I see it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
if
so
he's lost
time
his
out. I
Half step.
time out. I need to send this one. I need to send this one around the like. I need both of y'all response on this.
step. Okay.
Who did he beat? Who did he beat to make you think that he is as legendary as Sanchez, his trainer, and some of these other people are trying to say? Who did he beat? Honestly, because look, we talked earlier about Canelo needing a defining moment. What's his? The only fight that could have been a defining moment, you can argue he lost. That was Jacobs. Who did he really beat to put him on that elite level? Honestly,
Nobody. But
drama.
when you
Big
nobody,
drama.
but
Kell
I give
Brook,
it
baby. Kell Brook.
no one real name, no one real big name.
he doesn't have
but
it.
solid guys. I don't agree that he's tied Hopkins' title defense. You know, they try to say he tied Hopkins' title defense, but I still give him credit for it. You don't get the same credit as if you beat the guy, but if guys do duck you, that does count for something. He didn't knock out Sergio Martinez, but we all know Martinez ducked him. So there were certain fights he couldn't get. But to answer your question, he doesn't have a great resume. But I feel a little unfortunate for him because he had
Wait, back up for a second. Though. You said there's some fights he didn't get. Which fights he didn't get?
Martinez.
All right, I could probably give you that one, but you know why I can't though. Honestly, if he's as tough as we think he is, if he's as great as we think he is, he could have taken his ass to 64 at least, or all the way up to 68 and measured himself against a true great, and Andre Ward. He would not do it.
Yeah, but
and that was where my problems with Golovkin started.
Now I understand. Triple G opened his mouth and said 54 to 68. He was the one that said that. So I hear
tell you what's funny about that. They said that shit 2 years in a row.
But come on, Dre. But Dre moved up to 70. Dre wasn't even fighting at that time. He was going through promotional shit.
Wait. No.
We all know Andre would have beat Triple G.
No. Hey, no. I ain't gonna let you off the hook that easy, Shawn. Let's take a quick trip down memory lane. There was a point when Ward was comfortably fighting at 68. No intentions, no discussion, no dialogue about 75. When they could have got him. It was a lot of John. We heard what he would do, how he was going to do it. We heard it all. They never did a damn thing. Why would you say you would fight anyone from 54 to 68, 75, all of this stuff, and when it's time to get your ass in the ring and make it happen, you lost? Why would you even do that?
Because it made waves. It worked.
Bro,
it was
okay. I'm not about guys that make waves. I'm about guys that make results. Andre Ward made results, and he was willing to make that fight happen.
They could have fought.
That's the only thing. He could have fought Dre.
I do know Dre. I don't know. My memory look. I know that Triple G would have moved up to 68. He would have lost to Andre Ward. I know that. But
at 64, he would have lost. However he wanted that fight, he would have lost.
But didn't I also hear Andre couldn't make 64? Didn't he say that? Look, the point is, look, that was good marketing. It worked, didn't it? Now everyone started.
No, it didn't.
It didn't work. That's why he wound up getting in the pay-per-view. It was the start of him building himself towards.
They didn't need to use Andre Ward's name to. They got what
they should not have.
They got what they HBO.
Yeah.
I don't even think they wanted to use Andre Ward's name. That was a mistake. I don't think they ever even wanted to. They could have fought Andre Ward, but they did not want to fight Andre Ward, and nor was it a fight that HBO, because HBO could have forced that fight to happen if they wanted to. But
but Triple G. Here's the thing too, though. Guys that move up. Okay, Oscar, Floyd, they won their first title in their early 20s, 22, because they're greater than him. But I'm just saying he was already at his weight. It's not like Oscar, who started at 30, and we all knew he was going to wind up at 147. Triple G he's 5'10". He's not a big middleweight.
I think Triple G.
So how do you explain, Shawn? So how do you explain? And this is going.
That's why I said he's a great middleweight.
Check this out, though. I'm going to tell you why I don't even want to hear that. Because a guy I could think of who never gets even discussed in these discussions, who I think just doesn't get as much credit as he's owed, would have did the shit in a heartbeat. Paul Williams.
Yeah.
Paul Williams would have made the jump. Winky Wright would have made the jump. So many guys we don't even talk about never got the credit.
But those guys would have made the jump because they had to make the jump. Triple G did not have to make the jump because his team and his network wanted him to stay there because they wanted the fight that we're about to get, the Canelo fight. Like, I don't blame Triple G for staying at middleweight.
You know what though, what I don't agree with that though is it feeds the beast of those who say people are too worried about their records in boxing. One loss means you out. I mean, come on, man. Seriously, if he would, let's say he would have fought Andre Ward and got his ass handed to him, the Canelo fight still is an appealing fight in the clash of styles.
Not what it is, though.
Not necessarily.
And also he had fights.
So basically, you guys are saying with the loss, there's no way that he would have been able to make the Canelo fight.
No,
I don't agree.
What I'm saying is that with a loss, a Canelo pay-per-view may not be as financially successful as HBO and his team would want it to be. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying from a business standpoint, that's the reason why they did not fight Andre Ward. They chose to stick around, fight Canelo. I mean, you got to understand, it wasn't just Canelo they were gunning for. They thought that maybe they might get Miguel Cotto.
Look, all right. So check this out. Do we like businessmen in boxing or not?
Not really.
Because I listen. I heard Floyd take a lot of flack over that over the years, and he actually fought the men he was supposed to fight. He just didn't do it when everyone thought he should have. But I remember all the slack he caught. I'm thinking about Anthony Joshua right now catching heat for the same reason. So are we condoning that? Because I'm not one that does, to be honest. I think he could have taken a fight, I don't think it would have hurt him.
I don't think anyone is condoning or condemning either one. I'm just saying the reason why that fight didn't happen is because of this. So I'm not really saying that that's a good thing or it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I understand the reason why that didn't happen. But I'm not gonna say that takes away from how good or how bad Golovkin is. At the end of the day, Golovkin is still a really, really good fighter. I mean, he's got the amateur pedigree. I mean, even though he's not fighting some of the names you want to see him in with, the guys he is fighting, he is destroying them the way he's supposed to destroy them. He's not, which is what the complaint was about Danny Garcia. You know, I'm not saying that Golovkin is he on Hopkins level? No, I don't think so. You know, the whole title.
But he's going to Canastota.
Okay, so as long as we're not, because I'm hearing people in these fight threads placing him in the same sentence with guys like Hagler and Hopkins.
Yeah, but that's not us. I didn't say that. Shawn didn't say that. I don't think.
No. Well,
I guess I'm cool putting him in the conversation. I just think those guys are better than him.
Right.
It's like, you know,
I don't even think there's anything to talk about.
I think Golovkin needs a signature performance against Canelo in order to start putting him in that category. And there's other stuff he's going to have to do. He can't just fight Canelo, get the win, and then retire. You know, like there's other guys out there that I think he needs to fight. Charlo. You know, there's other guys out there. Danny Jacobs.
Can I, guys, let's pump the brakes right there. Actually, I wanted to ask you guys that, and I wanted to get your thoughts. Him against Jamal Charlo. Who do you guys see?
Charlo wins. I think Charlo the best middleweight in the world.
I think Charlo wins.
Let me tell you, I got love for Jamel too, but Jamal is a total beast. And I tell you what, I think he stops Golovkin. I actually think he stops Golovkin.
Maybe, I don't know. I haven't seen Golovkin hurt yet, so it's.
Hey, look, who's that? Adama hurt him to the body. Who else hurt him to? Somebody else hurt him to the body.
I mean, I don't listen. Okay.
Who else?
I've not seen him on Queer Street. I've not seen him wobbly. I've not seen him on the canvas. So until I see something like that, I don't know if Charlo can stop him. But I do think Charlo can outbox him. I also think Danny Jacobs, if Danny Jacobs fights him again, I think Danny Jacobs could end up outboxing him. I think the jig is up on Golovkin. I think the game plan on how to beat him is out there, and I think we're going to see that. You know, I think Canelo tried to do it the last time he fought him and came close to beating him, and I think he's probably going to do it again when they fight. So
I think you go to the body early with him, you can definitely get him hurt.
I do feel for Triple G just a little bit that all these great fighters came around. Unfortunately for him, now that he's 35, 36 years old. I'm just saying, I just wish that 30-year-old guy, 31-year-old guy, it was that guy getting ready to face the Charlo and Jacobs and Canelo, but it is what it is.
I think the only guy that Golovkin could have fought over the past couple years that could have, elevated his status in the eyes of anyone, especially V, is Andre Ward. Outside of Andre Ward, I don't think there's anyone else that he really could have fought. I mean, there's really been nobody at middleweight. Charlo just moved up to middleweight, so
Martinez was about it.
But that's not his fault. Like, that's not his fault.
Right, that was it. That's what I'm saying. He was blatantly done. And then Dimitri Pirog wound up ending his career. He was supposed to fight Dimitri Pirog.
Right,
but
right.
But I still hear what V's saying. He shouldn't have called out Ward.
Well, no, he shouldn't have. But I'm saying
shouldn't have called him out if you're not ready.
The Canelo fight when he was able to get it. It was like he just now was able to get it. And then even with the rematch, like, that's not his fault that he had to fight Vanes Martirosyan, like, for all intents and purposes, if him and Canelo would have fought when they were supposed to fight, he may have beat him then. And right now we might be talking about, oh man, can you believe Golovkin's going to fight Charlo? Like, who knows what would have happened?
Guys, so let me shift gears right quick though. You mentioned Martirosyan fight. I actually thought Martirosyan put in some good work against him before getting stopped.
But it didn't matter. He did, but it didn't matter.
Okay, but
like, he still got sparked out.
Yeah, no, but that's setting up my next question. Canelo is not a Vanes Martirosyan. We know that, obviously. Do you, we talking about his age. We're bringing up all these different whatevers to mention where he is at this stage.
And I don't think he's shot. I just think he lost a half step or maybe a step. I don't think he's shot. He's still good.
Do you think that guys just understand? And look, the veil of invincibility is removed and lifted from all of these guys at some point or the other. Ben, you remember on Fighthype Radio many years ago when it was funny, you and I were talking and Keith Thurman came up and I brought up the point that, look, he looks great knocking out guys. What's going to happen when he is in there with a guy he can't knock out? And you actually got him on the phone. You remember that whole exchange?
Of course.
Okay. I'm head to the doctor. I'm going to head out.
Okay.
Good. Peace out.
Bring you on next time,
talking to you guys, man.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, Ben, my philosophy now is basically on par with that. All of these guys are going to look what we consider average or normal, and they're not going to look like world beaters when they're faced against competition that's more of a parallel to theirs. Why won't we just accept it for that? He's fighting real competition now. Some of those guys he fought before, Willie Monroe, I love the kid, think he's a great fighter. He's not on a Jacobs level. He's not, so it's levels to this. We know that. Now that he's fighting that level, he's looking more ordinary. So, I mean, you guys, you don't see it that way? That's the way that I look at this.
I don't think he's looking ordinary. I think he looks the same as he's always looked to me. He looked like a guy who's very, very strong, who can take a good punch, and who is getting guys out of there. I mean, yeah, is he fighting better competition now? Sure, absolutely. But I don't think that takes away from what he is. I don't think that makes him any less good or anything like that. I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what you say or no matter what anybody says, he still went to war with Canelo, and some people would say he won that fight. So, I mean, a lot of people believe he did win that fight. So, Canelo is not a bum. Canelo's a great fighter. Canelo's going to be a Hall of Fame fighter. So if Canelo's a Hall of Fame fighter, then what Golovkin was able to do to him and with him, you got to talk about Golovkin being a Hall of Fame fighter too. Now whether or not he gets the names on his resume to warrant a first ballot, induction or not, I mean, that remains to be seen. But Golovkin is a good fighter, and I don't think his age. You do have to kind of look at his age and say, well, he's 30. I mean, he is older. He's 36, and that does play a factor to some degree because 36 is not 26. But having said that, he's still a beast. He's still a hard guy to fight. He's still a hard guy to beat. So, excuse me. So, I'm not taking anything away from Golovkin. I do think he's a good fighter. Is he an all-time great? Like, Bernard or Hagler, or that remains to be seen. I think he still has some work to be done before we could talk about him being that type of guy. But he's doing it. Like, Canelo is one of the fights that he needs in order to cement that legacy. And then we'll see, after we get past Canelo, we'll see what happens next.
Look, let me say this, and I want to be clear. I'm not calling him a bum.
No,
I like, no. I know. I'm just saying to those listening, no, under no way, shape, or form do I view him to be a bum. I think he's a very good fighter. I'm gonna reserve the word great for a different time. I don't know that I put him there with the greats, but it's only because
you did not like that word.
No, not with him, because I don't feel that the resume supports it. Listen, when we think about it this way, of the 4 titles he had, he defeated Lemieux as a standing champion.
Who
Every other?
No, I know. Who would you put in that conversation today as a great fighter? Like, who would you say today? Obviously not counting Floyd, but just of the active fighters today. Is there anyone out there that you consider to be great?
I mean, you have
on the path to being great. Canelo?
I mean, you have, yeah. I think Canelo, put it this way, and this is interesting, but I think you could say Canelo has been in enough great fights with great opponents.
He's got the resume.
Yeah, he definitely has the resume to put him there. I mean, you got the usual suspects like a Manny Pacquiao, old as hell, still relevant, still kicking ass. We got to put him there. Who else we got?
What about somebody said Mikey Garcia?
I love Mikey. I love what I see out of him. I still want to see more.
He's on the path, though. He's on the path.
He's 100%. Listen, Mikey is as close to being on that path as anyone else, you could argue. Skill-wise alone and heart-wise, I think Mikey is 100% there, no doubt.
What about Crawford?
Crawford, I think skill-wise, yeah. If Crawford stays focused, honestly, Crawford is going to be he's going to be a trouble. He's going to be a problem for anybody. And to me, that even includes Errol Spence. I'm not saying he beats him, but yeah, Crawford at his best is a problem for anybody. Definitely trending towards greatness, if I had to put it that way.
Somebody said, what about Broner? Why you laugh?
Great at what?
4-division world champion.
Hey,
Hall of Fame? Hall of Fame?
Ooh. Listen, 4 divisions. Listen, with 4 divisions, you almost have to say he's eligible or will be eligible. But his body of work, you know what, man? Do you remember now? Broner is one of the guys one of the few times I was totally off in my assessment. You remember back in the day when Broner really kicked it off. I actually looked at Broner as like the next coming. I thought we was going to get a lot more out of him, but Broner did not have the focus. And it reminded me of Zap Judah. I always told people what separated Floyd and Judah to me was the 3 Ds, the defense, discipline, and determination. He lacked the same thing, I think, Broner. He did not have the focus and the discipline, and that's what sucks. Because with it, we're having a totally different conversation on Broner.
I think Broner's, even though he's a 4-division world champion, I think Broner's problem is his resume. I think it's going to be hard to. I think most people would be hard pressed to name the 4 guys that he beat to get his titles. I know I can name one off the bat, Paulie Malignaggi. Outside of that, it's like you have to really scratch.
I tell you, the fight with Broner that impressed me. And this was before he took his turn. He was still a little hungry back then, but when he stepped up and fought DeMarco, that fight, I was like, okay, this dude, I could work with him. Like you could see the attributes, and you could tell that he was going to be a beast if he stuck to it, but he didn't. And I was sad, man, is that I think he's actually further away now than he has been. I don't know where Broner's head is now. And that sucks, but.
Well, I mean, it's the old saying. I mean, Marvin Hagler said it best about, sleeping in silk pajamas. You get comfortable. Yeah, you get comfortable when you become especially when you become a celebrity. Forget about just making money. When you become a celebrity and you get used to hanging out celebrities and stuff like that. And I think that may be a little bit of Broner's. I don't want to say his problem, but just it's hard to really train with that same mentality that you used to train with when you were still hungry. And that's the question: is he hungry anymore, or is he just collecting checks now? But
that's what makes what Floyd did that much more impressive, to be honest.
Oh yeah, everything. Yeah, Floyd is phenomenal. That is that once in a lifetime type of fighter for sure. But yeah, Broner Hall of Fame. Man, that's I mean, I think he makes it in just because 4-division world champion and he did it at such a young age. So it's going to be hard to deny that, especially when, there's a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame that you kind of scratch your head and say, really? They let that guy in? I think he definitely makes it in, but the question, I just don't know if he's going to be first ballot material. I just think he needs one more significant win in order to really solidify it. Antonio Tarver, is he a Hall of Famer? That's a good question.
I was just about to go read that one. You know what though? Honestly, on the strength of the infamous, you got any excuses tonight, Roy? Hell, on that alone.
That's it.
That and him winning the fight. Yeah, he's in. He's a lock in my book.
Wow, a lock. Wow.
Hey, look. All jokes aside, Tarver is another one of them guys who he did some good things, but I think was capable of probably doing some more, yet didn't. I think he gets in. I don't even think that's a question at this point. The victory over Roy will put him in, if nothing else.
Wow. Yeah. Man, who else did he beat? Can you name anybody else he beat other than Roy?
He beat Glenn Johnson, didn't he? Or did he lose that fight? Let me think back.
I think he might have lost the first one. He might have won the second one. I can't remember.
Yeah, he might have.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe he might make it in. I don't know if it's first ballot. I don't know if it's first ballot. One thing we did not talk about when the guys were on with us that I totally forgot, flying under the radar, or maybe I just could care less about it, is Amir Khan is fighting this weekend. Sammy Vargas.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I saw the. I guess this is Dozens or however the hell you said. I guess this is their U.S.
The Zone.
Whatever it is.
The Zone, homie. Like
The Zone.
The Zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I guess this is their U.S. launch week
no,
too.
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
It's not. Their official launch is September 22nd. Anthony Joshua fight. They are simply going to show the fight. They're using the fight as part of their beta testing. So they've got they've got some people that are actually going to be testing the fight on the app. But they are also going to offer the fight on Facebook and Twitter. So you can actually watch the fight for free. But they are going to be showing it on their Facebook page and on their Twitter page. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I really could care less about the fight. But again, I might just be biased because Amir Khan is mad at me and is not talking to me. But that's a whole different other subject. I just don't. It's hard for me. Like, I mean, he's fighting Sammy Vargas. Personally, I would have preferred a different type of step up than Sammy Vargas. But I get it. I get it. He's trying to shake off the ring rust, and the Phil Greco fight was really. I mean, you really couldn't draw anything from that. So you want to bring in someone a little more durable. That fight lasted like 50 seconds or something. So I get it, but does Sammy Vargas even have a shot in this fight?
I think Khan wins it. Honestly, I just can't get up for Khan at this point. I really can't, and it's sad because that's another dude who I thought had the potential to really do some things, but he has every attribute you need but the chin. And that's the one that's kept him
does Amir Khan? I know that's the knock on him. I know everyone says this guy has no chin, but does he really not have a chin? I mean, he's taken some nasty shots, and outside of Canelo, he's pretty much gotten up still after all those shots. Is it really his chin? Is it?
He didn't get up after Garcia's. No,
yeah, he did. He did. He got up multiple times. Multiple times.
You're right.
The ref had to stop him from fighting, and he was pissed when the ref stopped it. So Is it really
That
that
Ralph
he has a
saved his
glass
life.
chin?
He wasn't going too far in that fight.
No, no.
Yeah, Amir, Amir, man, it's dude. I'll tell you what. If he had a more durable chin, and was just more durable in general, I think he could have been an issue for anybody. I would have loved to see him fight Mayweather if he had a more durable chin. The fact that he wasn't durable tells me Mayweather would have went to the body, got him to drop them hands, and ate him up late. It would not have been. His speed would have made it an interesting fight for about 5-6
Like the
rounds.
Zab Judah fight.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Is the chin really the problem though, or is it his style of fighting? Like sometimes when I see him fight, I still see that amateur style in him. Like I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just because that's that's how he fights. He just likes to throw a lot of punches and get in and get out. Oh, somebody said Mayweather wasn't going to knock out Khan. I don't know. I think he might have knocked.
I could 100% seen the TKO in that one.
Yeah, I actually would have picked.
100%.
I probably would have picked Mayweather. That fight, I probably would have picked Mayweather by knockout. But
You said you probably would or would not?
I probably would have.
Yeah. Mayweather eats that body up to get him to drop them hands and slow down a little bit, and that's when you get ready to yell timber in that fight.
He said Mayweather couldn't put Conor to sleep. Nobody stopped him. He still stopped Conor. Conor's a big boy too.
I did reference TKO. I didn't say KO. I think Mayweather TKOs him, no doubt.
Yeah. No. I'm gonna watch the fight. I'm very curious to see what Sammy Vargas can do. I don't know. It's hard for me to like really, kind of break the fight down just because I don't, like I saw Sammy Vargas against Danny Garcia, but outside of that, I don't know if he's gonna be on the same level as an Amir Khan. But after that, the only person I want to see Amir Khan in with is Kell Brook. Maybe Manny Pacquiao if they're able to, if Eddie Hearn's able to get him on board.
I don't want to see that fight.
You don't want to see Amir Khan and Manny Pacquiao?
Not at all. Let me say it this way. Not more than I want to see Manny Pacquiao, Vasily Lomachenko. That's the fight I want to see.
Yeah. That's a good fight.
I don't put nobody ahead of Lomachenko in the quest for Manny right now. That is a fight. Even at this stage, I'd be ready to drop my ducats in the bucket for Pacquiao. I think he stops him.
Yeah. I like Pacquiao over Lomachenko. Actually, I actually think Pacquiao's size will be a little bit too much for Lomachenko. I think he's, and that's not to mention his power. His.
I see this here, Patrick. I'm looking at the chats now. What is it, Patrick Anglade? I hope I'm pronouncing it properly, Patrick.
Yeah.
I can't feel you on that, big man.
What do you say?
Lomachenko he's saying basically Manny is too old. That's what everyone keeps saying. Look at what Manny just did. Manny's not too old. The power's still there. The chin is still there. And if you can't stop Manny and back him up, you're going to have a hell of a night on your hands. And Lomachenko can't. Lomachenko, he's not, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben. I don't think Lomachenko's a power puncher. Not the kind of power that's going to hurt Pacquiao.
Nah. He's too small. He's just too small. I don't even him fighting at lightweight, I feel like is like, oof, like you may be a little too small for lightweight. He's just too small for Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao's going to be too big. Manny Pacquiao's still fast, and more importantly, he's still got that punch, man. Like that's, you can see plenty of interviews with Floyd Mayweather talking about Manny Pacquiao's power, and he gave him a lot of props at his punching power. I think at one point Floyd even said, I don't want to say it. I don't want to quote it because I can't remember if he said it or not. But I do like that fight, Pacquiao versus Lomachenko. But I like the Amir Khan fight too. I think that's a good fight. I think that that's two former sparring partners. For all intents and purposes, I heard their sparring was always fun. So I could see Manny possibly doing that fight before he does Lomachenko. I just feel like Manny probably would feel like, sparking out an Amir Khan would look better on his resume than fighting Lomachenko, who, is.
I don't think so. I won't say everyone, but too many other guys have gotten the best of Khan for it to be a favorable victory for him. At this point, looking at the sunset of his career, the proverbial west side of his career.
That's my point. It's more money. You don't think there's more money in him fighting Amir Khan than him fighting Lomachenko?
It depends on where it happens at. If they did
England.
something like that across,
It's not
if
happening
they
in Vegas.
okay, yeah,
Happening
well,
in Vegas.
okay, so maybe that's where our points collide. If they did it overseas and,
Has to be.
across the pond,
Pacquiao can't fight in the U.S., so it has to be overseas.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he could fight in the U.S., but he's got those tax problems, so I don't think
Yeah,
he
the
wants to
tax
fight.
issues, yeah.
Yeah. So it'd have to be overseas somewhere, England, Philippines, somewhere.
Yeah, well, that would be interesting. But I mean, like I said, I don't want to see Pacquiao fight anyone more than I want to see him fight Lomachenko right now. That's a hell of a fight.
Yeah. So who would Amir fight? Kell Brook? Is that the next fight for him?
That's what he should be trying to do overseas. Both guys at this stage in their career, I think I think his best chance with Brook is right now. Because the Kell Brook pre-Golovkin would have destroyed him. And I still think this version of Kell Brooks would probably still be too much. Maybe.
Yeah, for whatever, it just doesn't seem like Amir wants that fight, though. He keeps.
He never has. I don't think he ever really did.
Why, though? Why? You think he thinks he loses that? I don't think any fighter thinks they lose. I really don't. Like, that's why I was like, even when Shawn was talking about Tyson Fury, he knows he'll lose it. I don't believe that. I think even when a fighter gets his ass kicked by somebody, he still thinks he could beat him in the rematch. Like, that's just the mentality